All right, that took 12 minutes. Holy cow. And this was this is supposed to be a long show. I'm sorry about this. I think I am outperforming my current PC. I need to upgrade to an i9 or something. It seems like when I'm running a lot of things, it just starts to choke up, although there's plenty of memory capacity and everything else, but it just chokes up. So I had some technical issues. I apologize for the late start, but here we are. This is episode number 2348. It is 8:12 a.m. here in Chicago. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning, good morning, good morning from Chicago. Again, sorry that I am so late. Just whatever I do, it's just very difficult to get it all functioning. Sometimes there's certain days where, like right now, my browser is pooping its pants as well. Um, just keep reloading and it keeps doing it. So there's something going on with my setup here that I need to work on. So let's look at what the market's doing. Risk on sentiment. The markets are higher this morning. Look at all that blue on the screen. Look at the blue on the screen. Again, risk on. The S&P's higher by 43 points. Don't forget to vote at the top of your live chat on YouTube. And if you're on Twitter, in the Twitter feed, you will see that there's a link to go vote. I'd like you to vote on what's expected for today. And we're changing the rules a little bit for this polling for charity to simplify it. We're simply voting on whether or not we expect the ES/NQRTY crude oil and 6C to settle above the prior day settlement. So not a specific price, but the prior day settlement we provide in the survey link. We provide those settlements. So you're just voting on a prediction of whether or not we're thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of where we're likely to close. This morning, the biggest piece of news that's out there right now is that there's a rumor going around that China may be dropping its restrictions on COVID. There's a rumor that they're really removing their COVID policy and adopting that one which looks like Europe's, and that opens up that market. I mean, China. If you look at the Chinese indices, these stocks are getting absolutely obliterated. They're the worst performing. It's the worst performing market this year globally, and so. China has come out. The Ministry of Health has come out and denied this, but there's some information relating to the fact that they're expecting to drop this. The original expectation is that they wouldn't make a change until March of 2023. They will assess at that time. That opens up manufacturing, and that opens up the supply chain, which should have downward pressure on prices. However, with the China market coming online, it could also cancel the downward pressure on prices with more consumption by such a large population. But in either case, the market's taken out real well. You can see copper and silver popping higher, crude oil popping higher. The key thing to remember today is the ISM manufacturing and the JOLTS job openings. These are going to be very, very significant numbers. The prices portion of the ISM manufacturing PMI is going to be important. So at 10 o'clock, you probably want to keep your hand off the mouse and let the number kind of do its thing. These are significant numbers given the current environment, and so pay attention to those. Other than that, we are getting some other numbers, and then this morning we have, and hey, don't forget to vote. This morning we got some numbers out of Great Britain, but they're not all that significant, so I'm not going to spend any more time on them. Looking at the S&P is in a trending profile so far since the overnight session began. Yesterday was very, very balanced. We'll look at that this morning. The inventory this morning is 99% long, meaning 99% of the volume that's occurred since the last close, since settlement, has occurred above the prior settlement. So the inventory is very long this morning. Pay attention to that, expecting some sort of a rebalance pullback on the open at some point. It doesn't mean that they're going to sell them right at the open. It just might attempt to push and then have that strong pullback to kind of rebalance this, take profits, and so on. The range is 47 points, which is wider than we've seen recently. Pretty good overnight range, but still within what we would consider to be normal, which is up to 58 points, as you see in the statistics below the overnight statistics. The point of control is 39.16, moving higher than yesterday's high and Friday's high. The point of control in the overnight session is higher than Friday's high. We're really starting to move to accept these higher prices, although there are many, many reasons that macro type analysts and institutions are looking at that consider 3,900 to be a pretty strong barrier to buyers. So we'll see how that plays. I don't want that to color my view on what the price action is saying. After the close today, we do get McKesson, which is quite gigantic. McKesson has $70 billion in Q2, their Q2 earnings, revenue. So the symbol for that is MCK. And then after the close, also Energy Transfer, Yum China. We're looking at Prudential, AIG, and Mondelez is in there as well. And AMD is in there as well after the close. Pay attention to those. Before the open, we had BP, Marathon Petroleum, Phillips 66, BP, Marathon. These guys, beat by 25%, and hence that news yesterday from the White House that they think that they should be pushing the price savings to the pump for consumers rather than putting them in stockholders' pockets, which makes you wonder, why would stockholders then buy the stock, right? But Pfizer also came out, beat by 21%. Sony Group beat by 20%, and so on. So a lot of strong earnings before the open. We have this news, and so the market's taking a bull turn. Let's take a look at where we are and what we're doing here. We are really pushing ahead pretty strong in terms of the auction. In terms of the auction, we've cleared these balance areas down below, and we have been stuck in this upper balance, and we're starting to move into this area up here. There's a lot to be said for the bulls holding these prices up here. I think it's, the action is currently pretty bullish, but overall, it's kind of weird. Overall, you could see that yesterday we were completely and utterly balanced inside of Friday's range. It's a coiling day, and then this morning we're trading up here above Friday's range. So I think Friday is the impulse day up. Today is, Uber's a huge miss. They were expected to lose 22 cents. They lost 35 cents. Thank you for that. They missed by 59%. Pretty bad for these rideshare companies. I mean, they're so ridiculously expensive now. I've gone back to taking Chicago cabs. But we're opening higher. You could see that the trend is pretty decent to the upside. Again, I'm concerned that we are pushing into these areas. Look, I'm not a fundamental trader here, so I have to pay attention to the price action. So this morning, I'm going to just say that, Friday did push into a really, really key area up there at the 39.15, 39.16, and pulled back. And this morning, we find ourselves opening at 39.22, just above. And so it's very important this morning to recognize what kind of action the market gives us right at the open. So the opening range is going to be very important. If you use the opening range, which is time confined, or the opening swing is going to be very important, because we're going to see if they really mean to hold these higher prices and if they still have fuel to push higher. Now, with an impulse higher consolidation, we do expect a higher high on the impulse, which is what we're getting, but there's a lot to be done down below. So today's a tough day to come in and confidently look at scenarios. So looking at this thing, look at yesterday, there it is. Look at last Friday. We have a nice little flag type pattern on Friday. And what we have here today is we are opening higher in what is a trend that has held the full session VWAP all throughout and seems very bullish. To me, I expect the market to pull back to at least 39.10, 39.11 this morning to come down and meet with the full session VWAP for another test. And then if it turns up and continues to hold above Friday's range, that I'm looking long only. And now we're shooting for 39, the 39.50 area, and starting to look at a potential push to 4,000. But I believe it's going to be very labored in terms of OTF or higher time frame participation. In my opinion, this thing is really likely to have a difficult time moving higher. Look at where the settlement price is below 38.83, and we are up here at 39.22. It's really bullish, but we'll see. What we want to do is see if it runs out of fuel. Look at the delta. The delta has all segments. The large, the delta is mainly controlled by large lots. This has some fuel behind it. The small lots have been positive, but have been sitting sideways, and so have the very large. So we'll see if these guys rebalance down or what. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're out of time, and I'm going to say that for today, the most important thing to do is just to monitor how the response is. Do we get good responsive selling? Do we impulse down and break right through into the prior range and start pushing down into 39, below 39.04? And then at that point, if we push below 39.04 and we just seem to be weak on the buy side, then you do have a gap to settle trade potentially from 39.11 to 39.04. So what does that look like? That looks like, I'm going to label it in yellow because I don't know if it'll be the primary scenario. But to me, pullback, I expect a pullback for a continuation before the market peters out and holds steady and sideways. Again, tomorrow's FOMC, so it's hard to really commit capital ahead of that. But if it does pull back and break through and into the prior range, which is 04 right here, and then has a hard time continuing higher above 39.04, or it uses the full session mid, and that becomes resistance, then we have a very, very nice trade from the 39.0450, again, which is yesterday's high, the current full session mid. That 39.0405 becomes a really decent entry short for a gap to settle trade back to 38.83. Let's take a look real quick. Again, go vote, please. Let's take a quick look at where your votes are. I see it's my browser who's causing these issues. We have for the S&P, wow, a lot of yeses, predominantly yes, about 83% yes for the S&P. The NASDAQ looks like about 70% yes, meaning we're going to close above. We're expected to settle above. Let me turn this off. We're expected to settle above The prior settlements in the Russell, we have, again, about 80% expected to settle above 1853. Crude oil, same thing. And in the 60, about 70% to 60%, 60 to 70%, it looks like, closing above prior settlement. So the position we're going to put on today, for polling for charity is to buy across the board. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to be looking for strikes that make sense. We need a 1-to-1, at least a 1R factor. We're not holding the positions to the close anymore. I think that's been detrimental. The performance so far has been last week based on your votes. We got 4 out of 5 hits on Tuesday and 3 out of 5 hits on Thursday. So we're still doing pretty good in this charity account. And then we'll put on the position, and we're going to look for a price that we can put on where we can double the return for our charity, and then we'll close the position intraday. We'll report back on how that went. These are for the new CME event contracts, and the purpose here is to raise money for charity using these cash-based small contracts with your participation. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk tomorrow. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so now. Take care.